What's the strangest Pokemon card that you've ever seen? Or I guess strangest Pokemon. There's some pretty weird designs out there, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a Pokemon called Cradily. It's a fossil Pokemon, actually, and I think that it is one of the most bizarre designs that I've seen, and it's definitely going to be a challenge to explain, like, what this thing looks like. And not only does Cradily have a bizarre design, but its previous evolution, Lileep, has a bizarre design too. But it's because it looks so weird and just goofy looking that I love it so much. It's definitely my favorite fossil Pokemon. And before I get into the cards that I have, I just wanted to talk a little bit about fossil Pokemon and how, like, I feel like they're really underrepresented right now in the trading card game and just the cards in general. I know that Pokemon has a really tough time involving the fossil gimmick in the TCG. They've gone through a bunch of iterations from like Mysterious Fossil to the Amber and Dome fossils, the Helix fossil. Like, they go from something that's like generic to very specific, back to generic, and I think we're on like generic again. So they no, we're back on specific again, actually, because in the 151 set that just dropped, we got the Helix and I think it's the Dome fossil. I don't remember which one Kabuto or Kabutopsy evolves from. I'll have to look that one up though. But Lileep evolves from the Root fossil, and then Cradily evolves from Lileep. And dude, I think we haven't seen a Cradily card since, since 2019. So they are 5 years out of creating a pretty, dude, I think they could create like a banger Cradily EX card, and it would be sick. And it would, it'd be grass type, and maybe it would actually beat up Charizard EX, and I would love that. But Pokemon Company likes to play it safe. Print the popular cards, don't print the unpopular cards. Make super busted decks like Charizard EX, and then, leave out, anything that's grass. And just make a lot of unviable things. Or just don't even print it, They do what they want. But today I'm talking about Cradily and Lileep. I'll start with the stage 1, you could call it, or the restored Pokemon Lileep first. And I'm just going to have to explain what this Pokemon looks like. Let me pull the card right here. So Lileep looks like a goblet. It's like a purple goblet, except for the base of the goblet has 4 stubby, like little nubs. I imagine these are like legs in some sort of way, and then a tiny little tail that looks like one of the stubs but is smaller. And then the where you would hold the goblet, like the handle, or the neck of the cup, I don't know what they're called. It is a yellow, and it is kind of like a palm tree. It has those like cut layers, so there's like four divided little pieces in its neck, and then at the cup part, on the outside of the cup, you have 2. They're not necessarily eyes, but they're these oval shapes. So 2 yellow ovals with smaller yellow ovals inside of them. And then there's a ring around the top of the cup. And then coming out of the inside of the cup is this strange like petal formation. There's 8 petals coming out, and they're pink. So they start light pink, and then they get to a more of a defined pink. And then in between, or I guess in the middle of the cup that's coming out, is just this black sort of marble with 2 yellow eyes on it. Like, I that's probably the best way I could describe this Pokemon, and I don't even think I did the best job. it's pretty ridiculous how they designed it, but it's just so bizarre. I just love it. Very alien-like. You don't see anything with this sort of colors, this sort of design else in the Pokemon universe. And that's why I like it. It's cool. It's quirky. So I have 2 Lileep cards to go through, and then 4 Cradilies. The first Lileep card is from 2008. And so this Lileep is level 27. It has 80 HP. It's a grass type. It's a stage 1, and it evolves from Root Fossil. It is number 345. It is called a Sea Lily Pokemon. So I guess it's kind of a flower Pokemon, which is interesting, and it's under the water. It has a height of 3 feet 3 inches, and it weighs 52.5 pounds. So it's pretty heavy. So it has 2 attacks. The first one is called Astonish. For 1 colorless energy, it does 20 damage. It says choose 1 card from your opponent's hand without looking. Look at the card you choose, then have your opponent shuffle that card into his or her deck. Then its second attack is called Absorb. For a grass and a colorless energy, it does 30 damage, and it says remove 2 damage counters from Lileep. Now, Astonish is kind of like, it reads really weird. Choose a card from your opponent's hand without looking. Look at that card you choose. So I guess they want you to choose at random and then look at what you chose, which is just a little weird, but kind of a mean attack. Definitely random. It's pretty mean on the hand, especially if you can get your opponent's hand down to like a lower size. Astonish is pretty busted. Then Absorb is pretty basic. The flavor text, or I guess I'll start with weakness. It has a fire weakness of plus 20, no resistance, and 2 retreat cost. The flavor text says, it lived on the seafloor 100 million years ago and was reanimated scientifically. That's one of the things I like with the fossil Pokemon. Their flavor text is always like, science, yo. It's pretty cool. And the art on this card is basically it's basically showing this Lileep 100 million years ago. It has Lileep standing on the bottom of this really rocky sea floor. So imagine like a dark gray basalt rock. It's standing on just a pile of those. But the sea floor below this pile of rocks is almost misty. You have this bluish mist, so you can't see the floor of the sea. And then in the background, there are other piles of rocks sticking up out of this mist. And then all around Lileep are these, they look like air bubbles, and they're coming out of Lileep and the rock, and some are off in the far distance. And it kind of looks like Lileep is standing on some sort of mountain and there's mist in the background, but because of these bubbles and because of how the background goes from this darker blue into an ombre into a warm I'd say bluish green, you can kind of tell that it's underneath the water, and it's pretty cool. It gives Lileep a lot of character, and it explains the flavor text a lot, and whenever the flavor text and the art matches up, I dig it. Love it. Card's pretty nice. Older card, but I got this one. It's in good condition, so proud of that. The second Lileep card I have is from... Oh, I forgot to mention the artist. So the art for that, the first card is from Koki Saito. So the second Lilip card is from 2013. So we're going up 5 years. That's pretty good. So instead of being a stage 1, this is a restored Pokemon. So you can kind of see how they couldn't decide what they were going to do. So this is restored. It still has 80 HP, but it says put this card onto your bench only with the effect of Root Fossil Lilip. So at the time when this card was out, the fossil cards weren't played as basic Pokemon. They were instead played as item cards that have an effect which allows you to pick the evolved fossil Pokemon out of your deck. I remember, I think old Amber for Aerodactyl said to look at the bottom 7 cards of your deck, and then if you find any Aerodactyl there, you can put them on your bench. So it was very hit or miss, and I'm pretty sure that's why these cards never saw play, just because they're so difficult to get out. So this Lilip has an ability and 1 attack. The ability is called Prehistoric Call. It says once during your turn, before you attack, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put this Pokemon on the bottom of your deck. Then it has the attack Spiral Drain for grass and 1 colorless energy. It does 20 damage, and it says heal 10 damage from this Pokemon. Now, the attack is pretty mid. The ability is really what you're looking for. This has a an anti-mill or anti-deck out ability. So if you could draw this and get it into the discard pile consistently, then you won't be able to deck yourself out. And the ability probably combos with the Root Fossil Lilip item card, because if you can get this on the bottom of your deck, then you could play the item card and then put it on your bench. So maybe this card isn't too hard to get out. Unfortunately, you still have to have some crazy combo to do it. But the ability is definitely special. I like it. This Lilip is weak to fire for ×2, has a water resistance of -20. You don't see that a lot. And it has 2 retreat. The flavor text says it lived on the seafloor 100 million years ago and was reanimated scientifically. Boring, man. Come on. They couldn't get creative with it. How hard is it to just write 1 sentence different from the last card? I guess it saves time to just reuse flavor text. Now the artist is Suwama Chiaki. Yeah. So this depicts a Lilip standing in front of some sort of building. So the building looks like it's made out of some white brick, white marble. It's very flat. It kind of reminds me of what you would find in a graveyard. If you were to walk into the building, that's where they keep the ashes of people. I don't know what that's called exactly, but it definitely doesn't have a homey vibe to it. It's more like a government building-esque. It has pillars that act as windows, and then it has a really nice green roof on it that is made from some sort of brick. So this Lilip is just standing in front of this building. There's a path that leads up to it, and then around the path is this sort of stone that has a pattern on it, and then there are 2 benches on either side of the building. So Lilip's probably just chilling in maybe a cemetery or a park. The building could be a art gallery museum thing, and then there's a couple trees around. It definitely doesn't give me the same feeling that I got with the first Lilip card. I guess this guy was, reanimated scientifically, but why is he just wandering about? What's he doing in the park right now? And I guess the kind of the way that Lilip holds itself gives me it's confused. It's The goblet is definitely like leaning over to the right more, and the eyes on the Lilip are looking outward, like almost towards the person like reading the card. It's kind of like looking at you, really. And it just gives me a weird vibe. So the art on this card it's well done. Lilip is drawn perfectly, I'd say, but it just doesn't match with the Pokemon. Now, those are the only two Lilip cards I wanted to go through because the real reason I'm doing this episode is for Cradily, because I got some sweet Cradily cards. Let me grab the oldest one I have. I got a 2003 Cradily card, and it's a holo, and it looks really nice. Kept this thing in good condition, I'm glad. So this Cradily, I guess I gotta explain how this thing looks. Okay, so imagine, oh my goodness, what do I even say? So Lilip looked like a goblet, right? It has, the base of the goblet has those four stubby legs. Well, imagine the goblet's neck grew a whole lot longer. So instead of the cup being supported by the neck, the cup like is weighing down on the neck. So it's like the Cradily is usually drooping. Kind of looks like a Stegosaurus. But the cup, instead of it having that bowl look to it, it's turned itself into more of like a mask. Like imagine a ninja mask. So the only thing that you can see are the slits for the eyes, and then those slits are connected. So the base color of Cradily is all green. It has those four stubby legs, probably the tail still, and it's gotten chunkier on the bottom. So there's a lot more weight to the bottom of it. And on its tummy, it has those two yellow ovals. So there's one oval ring, and then there's an oval inside that oval ring. The yellow that was the Lilip's neck is now only the base of the Cradyly's neck, and coming off that base is now a green, longer part of its neck. The Cradily still has the petals from the Lilip around the base of the cup, and then its head, it looks like it's wearing a green ninja mask, and it has the two ovals with an oval inside on either side of its head. And then it has that little cutout for its two eyes, which are now on either side of the cup. And that's kind of it. It's very crazy looking. It definitely looks like the evolved form of Lilip. They kept with the design very well. Like, if you could somehow go from Lilip to Cradily in like a smooth motion, with like a bunch of steps in between, you could do it pretty well. Now, this card, this Cradily has 100 HP, so not too much more. It's considered a stage 2. It says it evolves from Lilip, and this Cradily has a Pokebody and 2 attacks. The Pokebody is called Super Suction Cups. It says, as long as Cradily is your active Pokemon, your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat. And by golly, we have a Pokemon that has that ability in the standard format called Snorlax, and it is a menace to society. Snorlax Stall is very powerful, can instant win against some decks, and just makes the game honestly not fun. One of the reasons I'm like taking a break from standard is because of control decks right now. But this Cradily shares that same ability, quote unquote, because it is a Pokebody here. But this card probably didn't see any play. Just getting a fossil out and it being a stage 2 sounds honestly really difficult. We have to cheat those into the format right now because it's so hard. So its first attack is called Lure Poison for 1 colorless. It says, before using this effect, you may switch the defending Pokemon with one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, if any. The defending Pokemon is now poisoned. I like how it says before using this effect. It's kind of funny, even though it's an attack. Then its second attack is called Spiral Drain for a grass and 2 colorless energy. It does 50 damage. It says remove 2 damage counters from Cradily, remove 1 if there's only 1. The attacks both seem like pretty bad. The ability's pretty nasty though. I like that. And it looks like it shared the same attack as the Lily before, that Spiral Drain attack. Not sure if healing 20 damage is that good or not. It has weakness to fire, no resistance, and a 2 retreat cost. The illustrator is Midori Harada, and this card looks sweet. So it has Cradily, and it's just sitting in I can't even tell. It could be the bottom of the ocean. It could just be some desert plains. It's just sitting, and there's a couple rocks to the left of it, and just details of the terrain and how not flat it is around it. And that's it. This card is super simple. It really shows off the Cradily and its design really well. There's nothing crazy to look at, but the colors match up really nicely with the card. The green on the Cradily is 1-to-1 with the grass type green on this card, and it's not very saturated, or it doesn't really pop. So it has a very nice, almost what's the word? It almost has a pastel look to it. And this one has a hollow effect on it, and it has that old hollow effect, so you can see the pixels, and it just looks sweet. I love this card. Good condition too. The next Cradily card I have, let me pull that out of the sleeve. Let's see. This one is from 2007. So this Cradily has 110 HP. It evolves from Lileep to stage 2, and it has the Pokepower Evolutionary Call. It says, once during your turn, when you play Cradily from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may search your deck for up to 3 in any combination of basic Pokemon or evolution cards. Show them to your opponent and put them in your hand. Shuffle your deck afterward. Then it has the Poison Ring attack for 2 grass and a colorless. It says the defending Pokemon is now poisoned. The defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn. Does 50 damage. Got kind of caught up because it just says the defending Pokemon twice. Kind of weird. Evolutionary Call. Dang, that is busted. You play it down and you get to search your deck for 3 Pokemon. Yes, please. This I could honestly see some play just because of that Pokepower. I mean, finding Pokemon is the name to the game, right? So I think it's pretty good, especially if you can just rare candy into it, find any other piece you want. It's pretty nice. Poison Ring is pretty good too. I mean, 50 damage is alright. You're probably 2 or 3 shotting things, but you're also poisoning your opponent and making it so they can't retreat. So you're basically picking your battles, unless your opponent plays a switch card or something. It has a fire weakness, no resistance, and 2 retreat cost. And the illustrator for this card is good old Ken Sugimori. And, Ken Sugimori, what he does best is just drawing the Pokemon exactly how they are. And this Cradily, it's not a full body shot. It's just focused up on the Cradyly's head with its 8 petals coming out of the back of its head, and then its long neck going to the right of the Cradily and then down off the card. And I can't really tell what the background is on this one because this is also a holo, but I can see that it is like a dark purple, and then there's some sort of like brown ground underneath Cradily as well. It just kind of peeks out from the very bottom of the art. But the holo is really nice, and none of it is on the Cradily, so it definitely stands out. There is a, what would you call that? Like an aura, like this very white, almost eraser-like aura around all the lines on the Cradily. So it really makes it pop out from the dark purple and like the dark brown background, and it's cool. It's like your boom Cradily card that you want to get. The holo effect is sweet. I love seeing Ken Sugimori's stuff as well. This Cradily honestly looks kind of mad too. Its head is pointed down a little bit, so the eyeball is kind of cut off at the top, making it have like an angry eye. So yeah, angry boy right here. Like it. The next Cradily card I have, 2008. So what is that? One more year after? Yeah. This guy's so cool. So this Cradyli's level 49, pretty good, probably pretty powerful. Has 120 HP, so we're slowly going up. It evolves from Lileep, and this is the first time we get to see this. This is the number 346. It is the Barnacle Pokemon. It has a height of 4 feet 11 inches, and it weighs 133 pounds. And now that I think about the idea of those petals being more of like barnacles, or no, that doesn't make sense because barnacles are the things that attach to like ships and stuff. So maybe that's what like the bottom of the like the body of the Cradily is. It's almost like a barnacle, because actually now that I think about it, okay, so this Cradily has actually 2 Cradilys ago had the super suction cup ability, and that is like connecting the dots to where this is a barnacle Pokemon. So you can kind of imagine that the body part of the Cradily actually has an ability to like suck onto things, which is cool. That's cool to think about. So this Cradily has 2 attacks. The first one is called Drain Down. For 1 grass, it does 30 damage, and there's a lot of text. It says, before doing damage, you may switch one of the defending Pokemon with one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 30 damage to the new defending Pokemon. If the defending Pokemon will be knocked out by this attack, you may remove all damage counters from Cradily. Then it has the Acid attack for a grass and 2 colorless. It does 50 damage, and it says the defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn. Drain Down is pretty nasty. It's very situational, but even if you don't get like knockout plus full heal, I mean, you're still like using a boss to attack, so you're bringing up something else and doing damage to it, which again is still very situational, but can be very good. The Acid attack is pretty basic, 50 damage, your 3-shot and stuff, and again it has that like no retreat for your opponent's Pokemon, which is pretty good. It has a fire weakness of plus 30, no resistance, and 3 retreat cost. Its flavor text says, it lives in the shallows of warm seas. When the tide goes out, it digs up prey from beaches. Dang. So this guy's a hunter. He's going to go out and find his prey and catch it. Now, the illustrator for the art is Masakazu Fukuda. And the art on the card does not represent that flavor text, which I guess is okay. I am curious, though, if like the artist knows the flavor text before they do the art, or if they have like no control over it. That would be something to look up. But this shows Cradily in like almost like a hunting pose, but it's hunting you. Imagine you're in a pretty overgrown forest, very lush, very green, and you were getting chased by this Cradily. And although it's slow, it is nimble. So it's like it's still on your tail, even after however long you've gone running away from it. And you fall to the ground. And you look back up, and this Cradily is looking straight at you, and its petals are outstretched going towards you. So there's like 8 fingers, these pink long petals that have, the light pink to start, and then it comes to like a darker pink towards the tip of the petals, and they're like outstretched going towards you, which is honestly terrifying because you're probably gonna die. And this Cradily is just gonna get you. And that's what this card looks like. The camera's on the ground, you're looking up towards the Cradily. It's a very powerful stance. And a little scary because this Pokemon doesn't look like anything you've seen from Pokemon. This thing is bizarre and would be terrifying to find in the wild. And I like it. Card's pretty sweet. Now, the last Cradily card I have is, I believe, the last one printed. Let me just check that. I'm gonna go. I use Pokemon or PKMNcards.com a lot. That's like where I search up all my Pokemon cards. Cradily. Yep, this is the last one that's been printed. Oh, there's some sweet Cradilies I need for my collection. Dang. So this one came out in the Sun and Moon era. This Cradily is a stage 2. It has 150 HP, still grass type. So definitely a big buff. It has an ability called Swaying Strangle. It says your opponent's Pokemon that are affected by special conditions can't retreat. And then it has the attack Poison Tentacles for grass and 2 colorless. It does 110 damage. It says your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. That ability is nasty. Imagine playing like Snorlax, except for the ability that's messing you up is on the bench, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, of course you have to like make your opponent be affected by special conditions, but not a lot of people play like Full Heal or, Citrus Berry, if that's even in standard right now. Not sure, but stuff like that. Not a lot of special condition recovery. So that ability is pretty crazy, and I could see a pretty nasty deck to go along with this. The Poison Tentacles does a lot of damage. 110, that's quite a bit. And I guess you're doing 120 because your opponent's Pokemon is now poisoned. And guess what? They can't retreat as well. So the card just kind of works with itself really nicely. This Cradily is weak to fire at ×2. No resistance, and has 3 retreat cost. The illustrator is Otumami, and the illustration of this Cradily is very action based, and wow, there's a lot of detail too. I gotta look at this card like closer. There's so much detail. So the Cradily is posed up, looks like it's in a battle right now. All of the tentacles that are coming out from like the back of its head, like right where the neck starts, they are being like flung out in all sorts of directions, and there's like forest debris being knocked up from this attack that is happening. And the background is so bizarre. I can't even tell. It looks like an alien planet, to be honest. Holy smokes. This artist was off the chain for this one. So the thing I could say, it's giving me like an Avatar foresty alien planet. There are a bunch of trees. It's like hyper detailed too. I can't really even tell what's going on. I can't tell if that's like a tree I'm looking at or if it's just some sort of like built up rock. I mean, there's just so much light and so many shadows going on. I can't even see leaves in this thing. Some stuff looks hairy. Maybe that's grass. Some stuff looks like leaves, but it could be like claws from something or like wings. Towards the right of the Cradily, there is like a lot of sun exposure, so you can't understand what's going on in that part of the card either. It's very yellow. It is very blurred too, not a lot of detail. And then towards the left of the Cradily, there is not a lot of sun exposure, but it looks very overgrown. And the sky is, I guess, what I'm looking at. It's like this limeish green, kind of like a Mars sky. It's very bizarre. I can't really tell if the Cradily is like on a tree or on the ground at all either. This would be really cool to like talk to the artist about and ask them like, hey, what is going on here? Definitely a bizarre card, definitely a bizarre art, but hey, it's a bizarre Pokemon, so it works out pretty well. The flavor text on this card says, normally it lives on shallow sea shoals. When the tide went out, this Pokemon came up on land to search for prey. So again, like, it's the flavor text is depicting this Pokemon as being something that lived in the sea. Maybe that's where this card is at, but there's no like air bubbles or anything going on. But all the flavor texts are like, hey, this Pokemon lived in the sea 100 million years ago, and we brought it back. You know, it hunts for prey when the tide goes out. But none of the art is showing that. The only Cradily that I noticed could possibly be under the sea was the one that had the super suction cups, the 2003 Cradily. And all the newer ones are just like out in a forest, I guess. It's weird. It's weird to have this Pokemon that lives in the sea not be shown to be living on the sea. Maybe that'll be something that I draw up, I cook. Yeah, that might go on my proxy list. Cradily, but actually in the sea. It's a cool one. I encourage anyone listening to go check out this Cradily and to look at these cards that I've been looking at, because some of them are honestly really pretty. You might even fall in love with this Pokemon like I honestly have. Hope that you enjoyed the podcast and that you're going to be sticking around for some more. Peace.